What's going on, everybody? Welcome to CS5 Unmasked. Today I'm going to be showing you a wide assortment of Jason masks that I've actually made. Now, a question I do get asked a lot is, how big is my Jason mask collection? Well, to be truthfully honest, typically most of the masks that I do make, I end up selling. So it is such a rarity that I actually have this many Jason masks on hand. So what I'll do for you today is I'll take each mask one by one, show them off, and kind of tell you a little bit about it. Alright, starting off, this is the part 2, also known as the Sackhead Jason. So I actually made this particular mask from an off-white cotton fiber sheet. I cut out a pattern, I hand sewn the edges, and then I cut out the eye hole and dirtied it up a little bit. Now, even though the mask looks pretty cool and pretty creepy, it's extremely hard to see out of with just one eye hole. So I actually did make a Jason part 2 costume tutorial where I show you how to actually make the mask. Now, if you'd like to check that out, I'll leave a link in the description below. Alright, now moving on to the part 3. Now, we all know that part 3 is where Jason first gets his mask, and it's been a staple of Friday the 13th ever since. Now, when I was making this particular mask, I wanted to change it up just a little bit from the one from the movie by adding a little more stress damage to the mask itself. I added a little bit on the top near the chevron, also on the lower right cheek next to the snap. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the original, but I just kind of wanted to make it my own. Alright, now moving on to the part 4. I absolutely love the part 4 mask. Now, most of you already know this, that part 4 is actually my favorite Jason, along with my favorite Friday the 13th movie. Now, this mask was actually recreated from the shower scene, and every time I think of Jason himself, this is the mask that comes to mind. I just love the way the blood pours out of the axe wound. It really shows that Jason is an unstoppable killing machine. Just quite simply, one of the coolest masks in the entire series. Alright, now the next mask, love it or hate it, this is the Roy Burns Jason mask, also known as Jason Part 5. Now, this does look quite differently from the other two masks, mainly because of the blue chevron, but I still like the simplicity and just the way it looks. I even took it a little step further by adding in a faded removed chevron from the brow of the mask, just to make it look a little more accurate. I also did simulated paint chipping from around the bottom and the top of the mask, so the mask actually looks like Roy made it himself. Now, even though Part 5 is probably one of the most hated movies in the series, I still think it has some of the best kills. Alright, now moving on to the part 6. Now, this part 6 mask was actually the one that I did in my part 6 costume tutorial, and I do really like the way it turned out. Got the bullet hole on top, and the blood splatter on the side. Now, even though part 4 is my favorite Friday the 13th movie, part 6 comes in a very close second. Okay, now moving on to the part 7. I absolutely love the way Jason looks in part 7, and I wanted to make sure that the mask actually represented very close to the way it looks in the movie. Now, it's a bit smaller in size than, say, a standard hockey mask, and I did weather it up quite a bit, along with all the scratches and scrapes on the front of the mask. Now, one of the only problems that I have with, say, a part 7 mask is that if you're wearing it without a hood, it really doesn't look that great. This particular mask was designed for a hood or a latex undermask. But all in all, I still absolutely love the way the part 7 turned out. Alright, now moving on to part 8. Now, one of the things that is most noticeable about the part 8 mask, other than it looks kind of like a dinner plate, is that it's got the very unique chevron. Now, it seems like every time I make this particular mask, I start to love it more and more. Now, say what you want about the movie, the mask itself still has a lot of charm. Now, the D-rings that hold the strap onto the mask, I made them myself, and it really wasn't that hard. I might do a tutorial in the future to kind of show you guys how I did it, so if you guys wanted to recreate it yourself, and save yourself a few bucks in the process. Alright, moving on to the part 9. Now, it's not a big secret that the part 9 movie kind of split the fan base. Some people actually love it, and some people actually hate it. And me personally, I'm not a huge fan of it. But it did have some really great kills, and the mask itself does look really cool. It is a bit smaller in size, and it's got the excessive damage next to the eye, along with the lower cheek, and a bullet hole on top next to the axe wound. Now, this mask actually does look like it's been to hell and back, and I think that's why I actually kind of like it. Now, this particular mask actually was created during my part 9 costume tutorial. A link to that in the description below as well. Alright, now the pre-Uber Jason X mask. Now, even though Jason X is one of those "it's so bad it's good" movies, and I'll be honest, I've probably seen it about 30 times now. Now, at first, I really didn't even like the Jason X mask. I thought it was kind of silly and it looked a little small. But the more times that I actually watched the movie, I started to fall a little bit more in love with the way that it actually looked. Now, the blank that I actually used for this particular mask, I did get from JDF Studios, and I had to drill all the holes out myself. And believe you me, if you guys have never done that before, it is a scary situation because you only get one chance to mess it up. But it did turn out pretty good. Now this particular mask I did not make, I actually purchased online. Of course, this is the Uber Jason X mask. Now this is not a hard plastic by any means, this is actually made of latex. And even though I didn't make it myself, I wanted to add it to the video because it's still a pretty cool mask to look at. Now moving on to probably one of the coolest masks I'm going to show you today. This is the final battle scene from Freddy vs. Jason. Now this particular mask was actually modeled when Jason was actually coming out of the water at the very end, holding Freddy's head. I even integrated the side of the mask being crushed in, just so that it looked a little bit more movie accurate. Just super messed up and just riddled with battle damage. I got the large gash on the side of the face along with the one on the top of the head, and I think it is absolutely awesome to look at. Besides the Part 4 shower scene Jason mask, I think this is actually going to be my second favorite. Alright, now moving on to one of the more cooler of the masks, I'm talking about the 2009 Friday the 13th reboot. Now a lot of people don't like this particular Friday the 13th movie, and I can actually understand why. But you gotta admit, the movie itself kind of made Jason scary again. I think it had to do a lot with the mask. I just love the way this looks. The chevrons are all tattered and worn. The mask itself is super dingy and old, and it's got a lot of scrapes and scratches. I love making this mask, and surprisingly, it's probably one of my more popular ones that I sell on my Etsy store. So I know other people like it too. I had to switch out the head on the dummy because the Savini mask wasn't showing up, so I hope you guys can see it well enough now. So the Savini Jason mask is actually from Friday the 13th the game, and it is my most favorite Jason to actually play. Now this particular mask literally has gone to hell and back again. It is a bit smaller in size, excessively burned all over the mask, and 3 massive claw marks that rake the face. Massive amounts of damage to the lower left side of the mask really makes this thing look totally awesome. Now the Savini Jason mask is definitely in my top 5 for coolest Jason masks. Alright, moving on to the next mask. Now I do know that Never Hike Alone is not necessarily canon, part of the franchise. But me personally, I do feel that it actually is. That's why I'm adding it to this video. I just love the way it looks. There's no chevrons, just a bunch of scratches and blood splatter. And it has this creepy, ominous look to it. It really does look like a ghost. Now if you want to see how I made this particular mask, again, I did make a costume tutorial on the Ghost Jason from Never Hike Alone. I'll link to that in the description below. Alright, this particular mask is actually kind of one of my guilty pleasure masks to make. It is the Retro NES Jason mask. Now it is pretty simplistic with its color scheme, just seaside blue on the face of the mask, and I'm using purple straps to give it that NES feel. Now I did put gray padding on the inside of this mask so it can actually kind of show through to the vent holes, because I kind of wanted it to represent the original NES, which the Retro NES Jason came from. Now the last mask I'm going to be showing you guys today is just a little bonus mask. Now this blood splatter mask is actually from my Jason Claus costume tutorial video that I made over Christmas. It's just a simplistic mask, slightly dirtied, with a bunch of blood splatter all over it. Now again, it really doesn't have anything to do with Friday the 13th other than the fact that it is a hockey mask, but I still kind of wanted to show it off. Alright, I hope you guys really like the masks. I really like making these, and I'll probably put most of these up for sale. Now, if you guys are interested in purchasing any one of these masks, I'll leave a link in the description below to my Etsy store where you can kind of see what I actually have. And for every mask that you do purchase, the money goes back into the channel. Alright, if you guys have any suggestions for masks you'd like me to make in the future, let me know down below. Alright everybody, this is CS5 signing out, and I hope to see you in the next video.